Hey, you are along for the ride with Mad Dog and Cole. I want to be a Mad Dog. Farrell.
Speakers always work better when you plug them in.
Truth.
I decided to fly through the air and live in the sunlight and enjoy life as much as I could, and that's just what I'm doing.
Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure? Stay calm. Wait.
Man, thank you for those inspiring words from the incredible Mr. Evel Knievel. Living in the sunlight, flying through the air, living life, just loving it.
Of course, we got to appreciate love and life. Got to thank our first responders. Keep our home turf safe and let us go have fun on the weekends. And of course, all the brave servicemen and women fighting all across the world. Let us do this podcast.
Absolutely. We're so grateful to have the blessings of great service people all around the world, protecting our freedom and letting us be able to do what we do, just have fun, live in the sunlight, maybe fly through the air once in a while.
Even if it's on accident.
Yeah, right. We also want to be sure and thank Kicker Performance Audio, such a great partner, kicker.com for all your 12-volt audio needs, whether it's car, truck, motorcycle, boat, sandrail, golf cart, side-by-side. They got you covered. Check them out, kicker.com. And, of course, Bomber Eyewear. Find them at bombereyewear.com. That is Bomber Floating Eyewear for those of you who are tuning in for the first time. That's right, they float. I am very, very attached to the Boogie Bomb series, and of course a white frame, dark smoke polarized, OSHA approved safety lens. They are just bitching for being out here on the lake. Check them out, bombereyewear.com. That's Bomber Floating Eyewear. Of course, the Premix podcast, our man Cole sharing his passion through the lens for desert racing. And we'll get into that at the end of the show. But Cole, great job. Find him on Instagram at the Premix Podcast. That's at ThePremixPodcast, all one word. Of course, our YouTube channel would not exist without Kelsey Morrell Film, working all her magic with the video on this stuff. She does a great job if you need a commercial done or just some video editing. Get in touch with her on Instagram at Kelsey Morrell Film.
Lauren, all of our guests are special. All of our guests are amazing. All of our guests are legends. And who is our legendary guest tonight?
The one and only Dustin MAddOG'S Jones.
Coming right up.
Stay tuned. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Dustin Jones.
The infamous, not quite famous yet, the infamous Jones.
Man, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. I know you are so busy, dude.
All over the place, dude. It's been hard for you and I to line out schedules together, man, just because coming and going and filming and riding and racing, and dude, it never ends for me. Same for you.
Yeah, I seem to find ways to keep busy. I don't know how or why, but blessed for sure, man. Blessed for sure. And
for several years, I guess you made the move from Muzzy and went through all that. Like, I know you kind of felt like, where do I go from here? And man, you've just been so involved and you've been in the industry for so long. It was easy to find a fit and a spot for you to get in, right?
It wasn't too bad. It was a lot more stressful on my side than than in my head than it was probably in life, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, what am I going to do? I don't know. And kudos to the Viking, because she was like, you're just going to get out there and start your own deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, nobody wants me. And she goes, nah, people want you. Get out there.
Dude, everybody loves seeing you, man. You're an icon of the industry at events, at Sand Sports Super Show and Glamis, dude. You're just an icon. Everybody knows you. You're so nice and personal, personable, and you love what you do, and that passion comes off. Everybody loves some Mad Dog.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate the kind words. And we're it's I think I was just telling Cole before you got on that I think I met you on the phone in late 2012, and you were just kind of starting the racing stuff. You've been kicking butt in the mud stuff. I think
Yep.
Cole has some race stats here.
Yeah, just a
Oh,
couple quick ones. Obviously started S3 Power Sports back in 2011. You've had Best in the Desert wins. You've had multiple King of the Hammers wins. Is that correct?
no, I won King of the Hammers this year in the desert class, but a lot of our chassis have won King of the Hammers under the Miller brothers, and so I went 1 and 3 this year at King of the Hammers. But man, King of the Hammers has always been a tough run. But the Mint has been my race.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's I mean, how impressive is that within 2 weeks to have a King of the Hammers podium, right? I
Yeah,
mean, some people
yeah,
would just be happy with one in their lifetime, and you
yeah,
got two in 2 weeks.
yeah, for
So
sure.
obviously you're a Baja 1000 competitor, done that
Yep,
before. Yep, had some good finishes there.
yeah,
And yeah, been with Monster Energy since 2017, is that correct?
yeah. That sounds about right, man.
All right, all right.
It's so crazy because time flies whenever you're racing and traveling and doing this stuff. So, to go back, and it makes me uncomfortable always when people are like, "Hey, man, introduce yourself, tell everybody what you've done," and I'm like, "Oh, I don't like doing that." But when you get back and listen to it and walk through it, and you're like, "Man, we've won the Mint 400 3 times now. We went back to back in 21, and I mean 20 and 21." We've won multiple Best in the Desert. We've got a King of the Hammers win now. We've raced the Baja 1000 twice, the Baja 500 twice. You're like, dude, it's been a crazy 10 or 12 years for S3, man. And so, you're just in it, dude. It's like you guys, you're just in it, and just time ticks by, and you're going, and you never look back of like, man, what all have we done? And when you sit down and kind of put it in perspective and you talk about it, it's like, geez, dude, we've done some crazy stuff.
Yeah, that I'll give you that. You have done some crazy stuff. One of these times, I want to get you and Mr. Henderson on at the same time.
Dude, we've got some crazy stories between the two of us because he's been there for time, man. He's for people that don't know, he's my current co-driver in my desert car. So God, he's been through some crazy crashes and some wild races with me. But he's also worked at S3 for almost 10 years now.
Yep.
And so, man, he's been through it all: the mud racing, the mud riding, the short course racing, the woods racing, the desert racing. He's got some crazy stories with me, some that I don't even remember. And my man, he's been through some things for sure.
Nice. Yeah, speaking of like all the wins and stuff, when I met you on the phone actually, because you're becoming a dealer in 2012 at
Yes.
Muzzy's,
Yep.
and you were like, oh, I'm gonna do this and that, start a race team. And I'm like, well, that sounds good. I like this guy, I like the way he sounds. And
Yeah.
so then in 13, I came out, we cut a deal, and I came out to Mud Nats. And I think that was 13 when I met you in person and
Yep.
the whole team, of course. And man, I will never forget. There's some things I will never forget. One big thing of that whole deal is just, your kindness and hospitality and how nice you were to everybody out there, you know.
Yeah.
And then as time moved on, we started working more towards a sponsor. You started working with Can-Am. We started helping Can-Am develop a more effective exhaust for your race cars, which ended up being, something they used on a lot of race cars, and actually helped us with our R&D to build a better product and a tougher product.
Yes.
So, and then boom, Dustin Jones hands me my first Mint 400 win as a sponsor.
I sure did. In 2000, what year was that? 16, probably 2016, maybe
14 or
that long?
15. Had to be
Man,
15 or 14.
it had to been 15 then.
Yeah. I was out of the blue too. Like, I don't think anybody expected the boy from Louisiana to, you know, win the Mint 400.
No, if there was any odds stacked against somebody for racing, that was us. That was only our third desert race ever. We had only finished one other desert race. We were coming from Louisiana. I had no experience racing in the desert, and went out there and won the Mint 400. What was crazy is at the time we had no idea what we had accomplished. Because the Mint is considered the most prestigious off road race in the U.S. North of the Mexico border, and so at that time we had no idea. We were just out there to race, and we wanted to win. And so when we won, we were like, "Sweet, that's what we were trying to do." Looking back years later, I'm like, dude, that literally put us on the map to come out and win that race. And it was like a light switch from there. That's when Can-Am and tires and wheels and stuff that really helps you continue to race started coming through when we put that win on the board.
Yeah, I also remember, and this is going to be a throwback for you. I don't remember what you called it, but you had a way back before the Can-Am days, you had a Razor that was on nitrous. I think it was a big block.
Oh, yeah.
And if I remember the year I was there, it was the first side-by-side to ever skim the pond.
Yeah. All of that is true, man. We called it Tropicana. And
That's it.
We had so much nitrous on that thing. We told everybody we got more juice than Tropicana. And so everybody remembered that Razor. That was like the first side-by-side that I raced. But yeah, it was a fully built, big motor, stroker motor, nitrous bike, and it would literally walk on water. There's still videos on YouTube of us skimming and wheeling and stuff like that. So that thing would literally walk on water. And what's crazy, that thing has been sitting for probably, I don't know, 8, 9 years. It's just been sitting out behind our building, and you should see it right now. It's freaking pristine condition. We fully rebuilt it. It looks brand new.
Nice.
And so we've completely restored that thing. But yeah, man, that you have a good memory. That's coming a long ways from, you were there literally the very beginning, because we started in 2011. And like you said, in 2013, that was probably a year in after us being a dealer for MAddOG'S Exhaust with you guys.
Yep.
You came to Mud Nationals to a huge event with us. And, it's kind of where the relationship started. And then 15, we won a Mint 400 with MAddOG'S as a sponsor. One of our first sponsors, man. You kind of were the first person to believe in us. And so you were there, man, since the very beginning of S3 of our company.
Yeah, well, you guys, everybody there was just so great. And I'm friends with everybody still from there, from that time. But I mean, you start stacking, like, I was thinking about this today. I was out working on my boat. I'm doing a crazy audio system in my boat, and I've got you'll understand this. I put myself in a spot where I have to have it done by Saturday.
If you don't do it that way, you'll never get around to fixing it.
You know what? You're right. So, and I was thinking about, all the wins, all the, like, you are a massively huge personality. And I would say, heartthrob of most girls that are involved in off-road and have been since you came in. But where did all this start? Like, where did it start for you?
I mean, I guess that personality trait and that respecting the ladies came from my mom. We're born way down here in the South, man. If I just say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, and my mom would go upside my head. So she taught me early on how to treat a lady and be polite to everybody and treat everybody with respect. And so, I've told the story a few times, but we grew up with not a lot of money, and so we grew up on a farm. And if we wanted to go riding or if we wanted to have a toy to play with, we had to fix it ourselves. We couldn't go just buy new things. We had to take somebody else's old junk, fix that up, and have something to ride. And so my dad instilled work ethic in me at a very early age, and my parents taught me to be polite and respect people and treat people the way I want to be treated. And I've one thing that I've tried to every day, every morning, every evening when I lay down is remember is do I treat people the way I want to be treated every day? Can I lay my head down with a good conscience, knowing that I don't consider these wins or the race notoriety or the videos. That doesn't define me as a person. That's just an opportunity to be a good example for other people. And I have to lay down at night knowing that I've treated people the way I would want to be treated. And so I think just my parents instilled that in me, a good old country, all American family, and they instilled that in me.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good. My pop, as uh, my pop was a missionary, and we came from not much. And
Yeah.
Cole's pop was a race car mechanic, and they came from not much. So it's um, man, it gives you a different perspective on life when you got to fix your own shit to be able to ride it, and all that.
It teaches you a true appreciation for stuff if you have to go through that process. It's I think everybody growing up poor as a young kid just wishes they could had their family had a bunch of money to do whatever they wanted. But man, looking back, I couldn't be more thankful for the way I was raised and the appreciation that I have for things now, because I know how quickly it can be gone. And I know what the other side of that coin feels like. I know what it feels like to be broke and no money and no race cars and just want to be able to race. So every day I get to race as a profession, I make sure not to take that for granted. I don't deserve that. I'm just fortunate enough to get to do that. There's a lot of people that would kill to be in my position, and I don't ever forget that. And so every day I thank the Lord that I'm able to do that for a living, and I never take that for granted.
That is huge respect. I get that because I feel the same way with what I do and the opportunities that I've had. Um, but like you ooze that everywhere. I mean, no matter where you're at, and dude, it's been one, it's great to be your friend, but two, it's absolutely great for the sport,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I've always, since a young age, like I remember I had an older brother that I really looked up to, and he was always good to me and always brought me along and included me. And there was, some of his friends, whenever we were growing up, that I just thought were the coolest guys ever. And I remember, specifically some of his friends would treat me like one of the guys because I was quite a bit younger. So I was like the little, tag along brother that really shouldn't
Yep.
have, but there's some of his buddies that treated me so good, man. And to this day, I remember that. And there were some of his buddies that I remember like kind of embarrassed me. It was like, man, you need to go somewhere. Like you shouldn't be hanging out with us. And that was from an early age. And it made such an impression on me that as I got older, I always told myself, if I ever have the opportunity, if I ever have the platform, if I ever have the notoriety, I'm going to be the guy that everybody walks away from saying, man, I want to freaking be like that dude. Like I like him. That was an enjoyable experience, and I want to be like that. I want to treat people like that. So I've tried to always stick to that, man, no matter where I'm at, no matter how tired I get of talking, no matter how long I've been at an event. Everybody deserves the respect of my attention that I can give.
That's preach, man. Preach. That's unreal. That's just, such a incredible outlook, dude. So there's a couple of questions I really got to know. So what was your first off-road experience? What did you start? Do you start riding little bikes or?
Man, the freaking death traps, dude. I started on three wheelers. And so I remember having a Honda Big Red 250, and my dad had a Yamaha 225DX, both of them three wheelers. And I remember my dad would let us ride around the yard, and we couldn't reach the shifter. So he would reach down and he would put it in like second gear so we wouldn't just go full tap the whole time. So we would cruise around our field in second gear. And so generally those three wheelers is what I remember as like our first off-road experience. And we grew up way out in the country, and we were homeschooled all the way until high school. And so
Wow.
we would get up every morning super early, do all of our schoolwork by like 11 or 12 in the morning, and then we would go ride all day long. And our parents gave us that freedom. If we could take care of them and we were able to get them running and keep them going, we could ride all day if we wanted to. And so that's all we did for, God, 15, 16, 18 years of my life until I was almost out of college. And I had no idea like driving every single day for 15 years was going to set me up to be a professional racer. But that's all I did growing up, man, was ride ATVs and three wheelers, you know.
That's awesome. What a way to start, dude. But
Yeah.
it probably, especially three wheelers. I rode a lot of three wheeler. I started on bikes, but I rode a lot of three wheelers, and it prepares you for a lot of quick action.
Yeah, for sure. And some adversity, that's for sure.
Yeah.
A three wheeler will put you on your head quick. So you got to learn some body English, some hand eye coordination. Dude, a three wheeler will embarrass you quick. I've even tried to go back and ride them more recently. Like people would have one. I'd be like, man, let me take a rip on it. I'm like, ooh, what doing riding these things? I should have never been doing this.
I owned built Honda 350X up
Oof,
until about when was that? Probably oh 04.
man. I dreamed of having one of those with the dual square headlights on the front, man.
Yep.
I had a 200X, and I always dreamed of having the 350X. Man, that was the bad dog. But I guess as far as like now that I think about it, well, one of the things I remember, probably one of my first childhood memories, is I have a scar on my right above my eyebrow, and I was riding on the back of a PW50 with my brother. So he was about 4 years older than me. And so I was sitting on the back holding on to him, and we were going down like a gravel driveway, and I fell off the back of it. I don't know there's no telling what I hit, but it split me open when I was really little. And so one of my first memories, I guess, was riding around on the back of a PW50 with my brother, just holding on to him. And I bet I was 3 years old, 4 years old, maybe.
That's Cole. Didn't you start riding on a PW50?
Yeah, but I was by myself, so it was a little different.
Really stuff, right?
I mean, those bikes are little, even if it is one kid on there, you know. So yeah, but obviously you're tough enough to handle the gravel road on the face.
I guess I didn't have a choice, but two up on a PW50 is not a great move.
I expect to see that on the next the next video coming out. You and
we'll go back to those days, which we've got all these pit bikes that we rip around town and like all this crazy stuff. So maybe that's just trying to make up for the mistakes in childhood of trying to relive that. So
yeah, I love watching that stuff, man. It just cracks me up, and
dude, it's always something crazy, isn't it?
it is for sure.
Still into a lot of other racers and people that I talk to and mentor is like, listen, what we do for a living seems like just normal life to us, but for a 9 to 5 guy that works in an office, that's a engineer or an accountant, they don't live the life that we do. So like we may hop up tonight after we get off this call, get on our pit bikes and ride through town to go have dinner, not 100% legally. And so I try to guys that are around me and like other racers, like, look, what you consider like just normal life is not normal. Getting to work in a race shop, race prepping cars, like going testing on the weekends, people dream of doing things like that. So take an opportunity to document that and share that with people so they can live vicariously through you.
Yeah, and your series started back up, and so give it a shout out while we're talking about this stuff.
Yeah, man, huge thing for us is it's a video series called Visions of Victory, and you can find it on YouTube, and you can find it on our S3 Power Sports Facebook page, Instagram page, on our S3 Power Sports YouTube channel. But it kind of started as documenting us as we figured out this desert racing thing in 2015. So we started this way back, right when we started desert racing, when we started desert racing, we didn't have any information on that. We literally had to Google things, try to read the forums, try to watch videos. And we've just said, there's not a lot of information on this and we have to figure it out. So let's just document us figuring this out as we go. And so it kind of turned into a race series that ran for 5 or 6 years. And then we kind of got away from it. We got super serious and focused on racing. And it was no games, no videos, no playing. It was like, we have to win races. And then, after we started having some success and we accomplished a lot of big things in racing, then I was like, you know what? Let's kick this back off, man. Let's start running it again. So yes, for this year, we just fired back up Visions of Victory. And so we're 2 or 3 videos in, and we just released one last week from the rock race at King of the Hammers. And it literally is start to finish, the emotion, the ups and downs, the pit strategies, the planning for these huge off-road races. And so we just offered it for people to have some information on what goes on out there so they didn't have to blindly go try it. And if they wanted to, they could jump in and give it a try.
Heck yeah. And if they want extra entertainment, all they got to do is follow your Instagram stories on the road.
Dude, that's one thing that everybody started realizing. If they see my Instagram stories pop up, they know it's going to be something crazy every time. I don't waste those Instagram stories for nothing. It's always something wild.
I will never ever touch gas station sushi.
Man, that's just testing your guts right there. Chinese buffet the night before a race and gas station sushi while you got a 20-hour drive ahead of you. That's just playing with the devil right there.
Yeah, you're a lot braver than I am, I'll tell you what. But I will tell you something. Every time I see one of those, and we see them a lot out here, the suckers with the scorpions in it.
Yeah. Yes.
Every time I see one of those, I think of you.
Well, that's become a thing for us because we don't have that out here. You don't go to the gas station here and have a scorpion with a sucker on it. So when we went out west, it's usually like me, Dustin Henderson, my crew chief, and a couple of the pit guys in the truck together for 20 hours driving from Louisiana to Nevada, Arizona, California to where our races are. And so you got to find some ways to entertain yourself. So, man, it started let's just try this crazy stuff. It started gas station sushi, and then we decided let's try these suckers with scorpions and worms in them, and see who can get to the middle fast, and then see who will eat the scorpion. And so, I guess it's just adult money with kid brains, and so we just do whatever we think is going to be funny at the time.
Absolutely love it. It's always entertaining. So. Now, there's something Cole didn't know. Where did MAddOG'S come from?
Ooh, man, not a lot of people know about that. So before I raced professionally, I was a cage fighter. And so I did that for 3, 4, 5 years. I was fighting before I got into racing. And so I kind of acquired that name from, I guess, head kicking people is really what I acquired that from, was putting people to sleep with head kicks. And so I mainly focused on Muay Thai whenever I was cage fighting. I did all the wrestling. I did the jiu-jitsu because I knew it was part of doing mixed martial arts, but I knew everybody likes to see a knockout. And so whenever I was training, what I worked the hardest at was Muay Thai and kicking. And so I acquired that name doing that.
Yeah, I remember when you first came on the off-road scene and I'd heard that nickname, and I was like, that changed my day. I'm like, I haven't heard a nickname that badass. I don't even think still. So Take that for what it's worth. Battle Axe. If I come up with something better, I'll let you know. But going
Please,
on
please.
like 10 years now, and I got nothing.
It's when I got kind of into my professional career, I was like, man, because I was probably 21, 22, 23 when I was fighting and had that kind of acquired that name. So I changed my Facebook to that. Well, then whenever I started kind of in the professional world and we started S3 and I was like, man, maybe I should change this. Well, I didn't really mess with it. And then we won the Mint. And then when we were going to the races, everybody's like, Battle Axe, Battle. And I was like, crap, it's too late. Now it's stuck. Now I've got to leave it. And so it's just like, we'll just leave it now. So maybe not the most applicable nickname in the world now, but it's stuck. So we just leave it.
I don't know. I think it's a good description of the way you approach racing.
Yeah, I guess it kind of fits along with the fighting racing, the way that I lived. It's checkers or wreckers all the time.
Yeah, take no prisoners.
Never. I will crash a car or I will win a race. I'm willing to do either. It doesn't bother me to do either one of those.
That's I was much the same when I was racing motorcycles, so I have huge respect for that. Still walk with kind of a limp, but it's worth it.
It will get you some battle scars. But what I've noticed with racing is, and I learned this from that Tropicana razor that you were talking about. I won tons of races in that. I've won multiple championships in mud racing. But for some reason, the race that people remember the most was when I at River Run, when I was just full tap on the nitrous and started skimming and tried to turn in the middle of a skim and just barrel rolled that car, just side over side. And everybody remembered the race when I crashed Tropicana. And so I took that into my other racing of like, hey, if you're not going to win, the second best thing is to crash a car. And so it's full on. I tell everybody it's checkers or wreckers for me all the time. You're going to remember me one way or the other. I'm either going to yard sale a car or I'm going to win the race. There's usually not any in between. It's one or the other.
That's awesome though, because it either it works or it don't.
Yes. But people remember it, man. If you do something crazy, if you go big, or like you said, you end up with some battle scars, people remember that stuff. And so good, bad, or indifferent, at least they'll remember who you were.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's what good old Dale Earnhardt, they may be booing, but they're talking about me. I don't
Absolutely. But they're still talking about him. That's it's the same thing as that. You race rough, you race hard like he did. They may hate you, but they remember you. They know who you are.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. So yeah, that's awesome. So all right, we've covered that. S3, well, I know every lady that's listening has to know what the mullet.
The mullet. It's kind of like the battle axe thing. I grew a mullet one summer just for fun because I just thought it was funny. I ended up buying like a 87 Camaro for no reason. I didn't even want the car. It was just like a freaking joke for like a summer. Grow a mullet, wear jorts all the time, cut off blue jean shorts, and ride around in this Camaro. And so it just became like kind of a persona, I guess, that people thought the mullet was funny. So I was like, let me just leave it for a little while. Well, just like Battle Axe, after I had the mullet for a while, we got serious into racing and everybody knew I had a mullet, and like not many people rock one nowadays. It just kind of stuck, and I realized like, gosh dang it, I can't cut this thing off now because that's what people expect out of me. But it kind of goes back to that checkers or wreckers mentality. I'm just a basic, normal looking white dude. So if I don't do something to kind of set myself apart, like they won't remember me. So it's a mullet and it's a jort, and it's jorts for me.
I love it. I actually, believe it or not, I have a pair of jorts.
You do?
Yep. You like inspired me.
Are they real jorts? Were they originally blue jeans that got worn out and you converted them to jorts, or what?
They were originally like really long shorts.
Oh yeah, like those dad lawn cutting shorts.
Yeah, so I cut them off just above the knees with a pocket knife.
Yeah, well, that's the most accurate way to do it, with a pocket knife. That way, it's full custom. Neither side matches. It's not
Yeah.
the same. That's the only way to do a set of jorts.
The front, one leg, the front and the back don't match.
That's the best way to cut them. That's when you know they're authentic. That's when
Yeah,
you know they're.
the Vikings not a fan of them, but I break them out once in a while just for the fun, you know.
Well, maybe it's time to make some life changes if she ain't a fan of them. Maybe you just keep the jorts. I'm not.
The here's the inspiration, by the way.
Ooh, yeah, she's starting to come in good back there.
I'm working on it.
The lettuce is growing. It'll be ready for river season.
Yeah, and won't be long. You'll have a skullet going on there.
Yeah, I'm hoping. What do they call that? Is that the Mississippi mudflat?
Yeah, well, that's gonna be like a Texas tailgate probably because it's mainly just long, no business in the front, just party in the back.
Sounds like a story of our lives, man.
Yeah. That's how we live.
So we got through that, and you know, you're like every girl's heartthrob of the off-road industry. I always think of like when I see you did in one of your videos, you did the whole hair flip thing.
Oh yeah, of course, every time
coming out of the mud or something, and every time I'll see a clip about that somewhere, see somebody do that on TV, and I think of you, and I always think of Amy Quintero.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love them.
And she's like, "Oh my God, I love him so much," you know.
Soccer moms, man. I don't know. I have a weak spot for them. You know, I love the Quinteros. They're and you know, Seth is now in Can-Am, and so that works out. I'll get to see his mom a lot more than I used to, and so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, we actually had him on a little bit ago, right before Dakar.
Yeah.
And hopefully he's like, man, I got to get back on there. And we've been trying to get, you know, we have a list of guests that we want to get, and then trying to schedule, because Cole still has a real job. He's not like us.
Yeah. Yeah. You mean he's not just hanging out, just floating along in this off-road world?
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Thank you for helping support us being able to do this.
Well, no, just to bring it back. I mean, when you're talking about the 9 to 5 guys, it's like I'm literally watching, you know, visions of victory while I'm doing life insurance stuff. So as I'm sitting here doing the literal 9 to 5 job, it's like I get to watch you do your thing on there. And so I just had to be so appreciative that you guys do this long format, beautifully shot video, because it gives the rest of us like hope on a Wednesday, like, hey, the weekend's coming. Like, we can go pretend to be one of those guys.
Dude, and that makes me so happy to hear you say that, man. And that's literally exactly why I push my guys to come out there to the races and to do that with us. Because if you can't be out there, like, you love this stuff, man. But realistically, not everybody can be completely invested in the industry like we are. And so it's just like that little touch of being able to still enjoy it, even though you can't do it every day. And so what you're saying is what makes me happy and why I enjoy doing that. Because people like take time and they're like, man, throw it up on my second computer screen while I'm working and let me just watch this. And man, it makes the day go by faster. That's what I love about it, dude. That's why we document what we do.
Oh yeah. And like I said, I'm just appreciative of it. And then also the fact that you guys don't just show the good things and the things that go right. It's realistic racing. It's realistic desert racing. It's like, hey, you know, we know how to build these cars, but that doesn't mean everything goes your way, and they don't hand you the trophy at signups. And the fact that you guys show the trials and tribulations, I mean, I think that's just going to bring so many more people, you know, to your channel.
Man, and that's the reality of it. If you give people a false sense of what racing is, and you don't let them understand the sacrifice that it takes, and the 20-hour drive, and the race preps, and blown belts and broken axles, like, if you don't present it to them in a way that they recognize, like, hey, this is going to be a struggle, but the memories are there, the experience is there, and if you work hard enough, the wins are there, then you gave them a false sense of what it is, and they're gonna have a resentment against it. They're gonna be like, man, this is not what I thought I was signing up for. This is not fun. But if you give them a realistic look at what it really is like, the ups and downs, the goods and the bads, They go into it and they enjoy it. Because for me, I want people to do this long term. I want people to race for years because at our S3 Power Sports shop, we build race cars. So I want to continue building race cars for people all over the world. If you don't give them a good sense of the sacrifice that it takes, they're going to be like, man, what did you convince me to do this for? And you made it look so easy, and it's not. No, I want them to know the good and the bad.
Yeah, and that's brilliant. Actually, that's really smart, and a great approach. And I know you guys do build a ton of, at least a ton of race cars at S3, and I kind of wanted to get into where did I know a little bit of the history, but our listeners have no idea where S3 started, why S3 started, and
Yep.
all that. So why don't you give us just a hit on that real quick?
All right. So S3, a lot of people want to know, what does S3 stand for? Where did that come from? So whenever we started back in 2011, there's an older gentleman that you know very well, Mr. Malcolm Sneed, and his wife, Linda Sneed. And so they owned an oil field company, and they loved going riding as a couple. And he and I had ridden for a couple of years together, going to these big events. And, with him owning an oil field company, he had some extra income. And so when we go out to the events, he would take spare axles, spare belts, spare differentials and stuff to keep us all going so we could ride all weekend, because we just tore up so much stuff. And so people would start finding out that the S3 crew had some spare parts. So they would come over and like, hey, man, do y'all have an axle? Like, just so we can keep riding for the weekend. Like, it's the first day. We don't want to leave. Sure, we got you. We got spares. We got this. We got some takeoff axles, whatever. And so that's kind of where it started. And it was just like, man, there's an opportunity here to let people keep experience what we love to experience. And we can bring more stuff, take care of these people at these rides, and keep them going. And so it started off as us just going to rides, keeping people riding, selling parts at the ride so people could enjoy time with their family and doing what we love to do. Then when we came back home, he had a shop bay that he would let me use at his oil field shop to fix vehicles and keep stuff going. And so then it started spiraling out of control, and we were building cool rigs and big lifted side by sides, and just we were so wild that people were following us everywhere we were going, because we were just the guys that would go out there, trash everything we owned, work on them all night long, and the next day just trash everything again. So people knew when the S3 crew come around, there was gonna be a show. And so that helped build our following really quickly. And so it just came from us going to rides, helping people keep going. And then we were like, man, there's just a spot for this. There's an opportunity to help people out and to build stuff better. And everything we tore up, we would say, you know what, let's build a better one. And so people were like, hey, I want what you guys are running. And so it just went. And so the S3 part, I skipped right over that. Mr. Malcolm Sneed, that started S3, that helped put us all in business and get this thing going. He's Malcolm the Third, and his last name is Sneed. So that's where Sneed the Third and S3 comes from. So that's what his oil field company was called. That's what his aviation company was called. That's what Power Sports was called, was S3, is S3. So that's kind of how we started. And then once we started building vehicles, we started racing, and people wanted us to build mud racing rigs. And then we started desert racing, and people wanted us to build desert race cars. And we figured, like, hey, if we're going to do this racing thing, we better be able to build everything for ourselves. So we don't want to run somebody else's suspension and somebody else's cage and somebody else's wiring. So we were like, let's just build it all for ourselves. And just so happens some other people wanted us to do that for them.
That's really cool. And I do love me some of the Sneeds. They're Mr. Mal, and just unbelievably good people, and
they gave me early on, man, and I'm so thankful for them. And so they're the best kind of people.
Yeah, for sure. And now S3, I mean, you build everything. You build mud stuff, you build cages, you build desert cars. Yep. You've had a lot of wins as a car builder now also.
Oh, yeah. Naturally, way more wins with our chassis than I've personally done in my own car. So we've got The Miller brothers run our short course chassis. They also run our King of the Hammers stock chassis. They also run our King of the Hammers 4400 chassis. You know, we got tons of short course chassis out there winning at Mid America, winning at racing and winning at Champ Off Road, winning at the Outlaw Race Series. So we've been super fortunate that we've really focused on building good, light, fast cars, and we got a lot of fast guys that like running our parts. And so, dude, I mean, I would venture to say our chassis are some of the winningest chassis in the country right now.
I would concur with that. And you know, it's a real testament to like you and your team's dedication to improving the sport.
Yes.
Like everything from visions of victory to building better components or building, you know, turnkey cars.
Yeah. Well, this is my livelihood. This is how I put food on my table. This is how I pay my house notes. So I don't take that lightly. I don't just try to skate along at this. I want to be the best. I want to be the name. I want everybody to want our chassis, and I want to provide the information to educate people that aren't in the industry to get them into the industry. My goal is to get people out there to enjoy the things that I love, but also just get out there and try something. Like the example of us going and doing the Visions of Victory and us stepping outside to do the desert racing. Not everybody is going to go desert racing, and I recognize that. But the overall goal is if you want to go downhill mountain bike, go try that. We went desert racing and had no idea what we were doing. If you want to go, wakeboarding or a bowling, just get out there and try it. We had to do it. And I just want to be that example of like, man, these guys can do that coming all the way from Louisiana, and they can win the mid 400 multiple times, and they can build these race cars for all these guys all over the world. I can go down and mountain bike, or I can go ski, or whatever you want to do.
Yeah. How long is it going to be till you start winning races on your watercraft now?
Man, if I can keep from crashing those things, dude, we take more of those stuff than anything. The problem is we always take it to the extreme. So like we get on a watercraft, and for some reason we like riding through the trees. You would think watercraft, stay in open water, but the first thing we do is go try to rip through the trees. And I think we've busted 4 ski-doo holes right now. And so, sea-doo holes right now. So if I can keep from crashing these things, then I might be all right in watercraft racing.
Dude, I never laughed so hard as the video last year. I think it was you and Dustin, and you pulled that boat out from under the overpass, and he rode the boat,
dude.
As it sank.
Until it sank, dude. The craziest stuff happened to us. I say it happens to us. I guess we do it to ourselves. It's literally, like I said earlier, it's grown-up money with little kids' minds. And so we saw this boat sitting on the bank, and we were like, why is that boat up on the bank? I wonder if it floats. Well, let's find out if it floats. So we hooked the jet skis to it, drug it out in the middle of the lake, started dragging it around. And I was like, well, it floats. So let me jump off my jet ski into the boat, and you pull me, and let's just see how. And we rode it till it went to the bottom. But that's like you said, that's that crazy stuff. When people see my Instagram stories and stuff pop up, they know it's going to be something wild every time.
Oh yeah, I laughed so hard at that. I probably watched it. I don't even know. I probably watched it 10 times, showing it to other people, and just that's a whole part of it that most, all of us know a lot of desert racers, and very few, if any, are as completely entertaining as you, and your crew. I mean, just it gives you, I don't want to say the warm fuzzy, but it gives you the warm fuzzy about racing and off-road and, the whole deal. So,
I've been fortunate enough to be able to surround myself with good people that love the things that I love, that just want to live life. And so For me, I always encourage those dudes like, man, let's do something. Let's this weekend, we're free. That's not a weekend to just sit around the house and do nothing. Let's go do something we've never done before. Let's go, let's call some buddies and dude, let's just go do something crazy, man, that we've never tried before. And maybe we hate it, maybe we love it. We've done things that I thought this is terrible. Up a mountain bike, definitely not my thing. If it doesn't have a motor in it, it's definitely not my thing. But I didn't know that until I went and tried it. Cowboy Cerrone is a great friend of mine, and he's the same way. He just wants to live his best life. And so we go do stuff together, man, of like, let's try this. Let's try this. All right, we didn't like that, but man, this was super fun. Let's do this again. And so you just got to get out there and just do things and see what you enjoy and what you don't.
Dude, that's such a great outlook, and really, I've got to throw this out in our intro. We have a Evel Knievel quote in our intro about being blessed, about living in the sunlight and flying motorcycles or flying through the air, and that's the same. If you don't mind me making the comparison, it's the same overall attitude, that's, it's admirable.
You got to figure out what you're flying through the air is. And for the scale is different for everybody. For me, my flying through the air is I have to be in that race car. I have to be racing. That is what is my freedom. But for some people, it's playing golf. For some people, it's riding in a sports car with the top down. You have to find out what that Evel Knievel reference of flying through the air. You have to find out what that is. It could be the simplest thing. For some people, it's gaming. That's their escape. That's what they love to do. But you have to get out there and try some things and figure out what is your flying through air moment and do that. Go do that.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, man. That is good advice. And we were, Cole's couple-time AMA champion in Grand Prix racing. Rode a KX 500 to a championship.
Oh, that takes a man to do that. Jeez.
Yeah, luckily no one else shut up on 500, so that was the advantageousnast.
Feel for you to ride that thing and hold on to it. Jeez, you are a man to ride that thing.
We had a good relationship, me and that bike, so
that kind of love-hate kind of thing.
Yeah, some days it wouldn't ride right, but that was just nothing I could do about it. She wasn't happy.
That's incredible. Awesome that you accomplished that, man. That's accomplishing something big, and without taking some chances and getting out there. And it's dirt bike racing is not easy, dude. It's freaking takes a lot of work, and you have to perfect it, or you will get seriously hurt doing that. And so that does not come easy. So that sacrifice, unless you were willing to get out there and do that work and make that sacrifice, you could never look back and say, "Man, look at what I accomplished doing this."
Yeah, absolutely. It was I don't know, it was just a good life lesson at the end of it, of just being tenacious and being broke, but putting the money where I thought it should be invested, and it worked out in the end. So,
man, I agree with that. And I think, what we struggle with nowadays is the scale of what's difficult is shifted so low now. And so you have to put yourself in really difficult situations. Like for me, it's racing the Baja 1000 or racing Vegas to Reno, Ironmaning Vegas to Reno. And so that's, 10 hours straight in the car where you have to make perfect decisions or you're going to destroy a car. And so my scale of what's difficult is shifted so high that my day-to-day stresses and, dealing with employees and dealing with figuring out, what's the next part, or like, how are we going to keep this customer happy? That level of difficulty for me is very low and easy to deal with. And you're in that same position of, you had to face adversity on a dirt bike of like, if I mess up or if I come off this jump and click the wrong gear, I'm breaking a back, I'm breaking a leg, I'm tearing shoulders out. So your scale of difficulty is shifted to a higher mark. So your day to day, it doesn't wear on you the way it does on a lot of people, because they don't have that scale of what real difficulty and tenacity in adversity is. And so they think that day-to-day stress of figuring things out and what are we going to cook for dinner and I got to stop and get gas on the way home. That's difficult for them. But they would do themselves such a favor by really experiencing difficult cold baths or cold plunges, saunas, difficult workouts, physical activity to shift that scale up to where it's like, man, this day-to-day stuff, this is manageable. This is not real difficulty, you know?
Yeah, there's sorry, go ahead, Lauren.
Oh, no, go ahead, Cole.
No, there was a great quote in the first Dust to Glory, and I think we can all relate, and you, Dustin, more than anyone. But after racing the Baja 1000, one of the racers says, I almost had 1,000 incidences out there. So what's the worst thing that can happen in a job interview? They say no. It doesn't matter. I've put myself through such struggle that it is the day-to-day stuff is so manageable. So I don't know. It's just what you said is just so spot on.
Yeah, and really you hit it on the head. Cole had bike let him down and came up short on a double and did go through back surgery and broken back, and he's temporarily retired from racing. That was what, 2 years, 2.5
3 years ago now. Yeah.
3 years ago. But fortunately, he has found, like you said, go out and do something, try something. And he has found a new spot as a bike chief for a rider that started racing and it does my heart good to see him back out at the races. He's doing photography at desert races, just to share his passion, be back involved like you were talking about. And they've clicked off some wins as a new bike chief, new crew chief this year. He's been on it, man.
Well, the rider's talented, so that makes my job easy.
I don't know, man. I've got my crew chief. There's no way I could do it without his help. So I know you discount the difficulty of your job, Cole, but man, if it wasn't for my guy Chris that takes care of my car, I wouldn't be able to do it, man. It's just too much with the businesses and with the media content, and I just couldn't do it all. So you may discount your help or your attribution in that, but you shouldn't, man. You're a huge part of it. I'm confident of that.
No, I appreciate that, and couldn't keep me away from the races if they tried. So that makes it easy as well.
Yeah, for sure.
I tell his rider that all the time because he tends to sell himself short, and it's like, hey, they went from the first race of last year, minute and a half pit stop?
Not that bad, but it sure felt like it. Yeah.
And down to, what was the last race? 30?
About 34 seconds. So I had a minute out.
34 seconds.
So, yeah.
And that's incredible, man. Just to see improvement like that, it's got to be a testament to your hard work and logistics and efficiency. And so you should pat yourself on the back for that,
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
One thing I try to emphasize every time I get a microphone in front of my face on a podium is my pit crew, Dustin as my co-driver, my crew chief. People get to see like me on the podium and celebrating the win. That win was won. The potential for that win was in place long before I got in that car. If it wasn't for Dustin spending 8-10 hours mapping out a course and putting course notes on there, if it wasn't for my crew spending 40-50 hours race prepping the car, testing the clutches, breaking everything in, prepping axles, the car wouldn't hold up. If it wasn't for my pit crew making sure pit stops and fuel cans and everything is flawless, I don't think about that stuff. I pull in a pit stop with racing on my mind, and I trust those guys to do that. But they do an amazing job at that. And so anytime I get a mic, I try to emphasize to people, it's Dustin in the co-driver's seat. I would crash this car in the first 20 miles if it wasn't for him. I would never make it to the start line if it wasn't for that pit crew. I would never make it past the first pit if it wasn't for my crew chief in the pit doing that for me. And so I hear too many drivers acting like they are the reason they won that race. No, they don't. No, we don't. We don't. We have the easy job. We have to point it and hold that thing on the floor. Everybody else has the hard jobs.
I actually, I'd never run desert racing. I'd done some cross country stuff way back when, but I actually got involved and had the opportunity to do Vegas to Reno on the
Yeah.
pit side
Yeah.
for a couple of stock. Well, when I saw you
Yes.
at Vegas to Reno, what was that last year? 2 years ago.
Yep.
And man, it's I've crew chief circle track cars, I've built circle track cars, tour cars, go karts, and I wasn't the crew chief, but I ended up being the uh, pit strategist, and they were stock cars,
Yes.
and so we had to fuel with
All the time. Every
stock
bit.
every pit, and I think I ended up fueling both cars at 5 of the 12 pits.
God.
Yeah, timing, but that none of that really matters. The point I was getting to was you were talking about, checkers and wreckers and whatnot and the thrill. And here we are, 4.8 miles from the finish. We're first and second, literally bumper to bumper. And we get the call that car two was broken.
Mm.
And by the time we realized that car two was terminal, car one was on the podium.
Oh man.
And I'm
Man.
like, people have asked me, hey, you were pretty we were helping out the Romos and Toyo tires and Polaris and so I've had a lot, I have a lot of friends in desert racing. Like, anytime you want to, you know, sign up, I'm
Oh,
like,
oh.
well, I said, I've kind of had like Vegas to Reno, there's nothing like it, but
No.
I've kind of had like the thrill of the victory, the agony of defeat,
Yeah.
all in like 8 minutes.
Yeah. I know. It's hard to enjoy both, right? When something like that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. It was hard to stand there and be happy knowing that car two was 4.8 miles away
Yeah.
and broken and it was going to be a long, we chased all night, but being on the pit side, the chase, oh my God,
Fun, right?
such a rush.
So fun. So fun, man.
Yeah.
I love
Well,
the opportunity when I've pitted for some guys. That's so fun to see that side of it for sure.
it was really cool. I've got some great stories, but man, Dustin, I think we're pushing time for you. I want to thank you so much, and I want you to please give us website, Instagram, S3 Power Sports,
Yeah.
and then hit all your sponsors.
Yeah, for sure. So the big thing for me is for people to come follow me, get to see all that crazy stuff that you're talking about on our stories, on our Instagram videos, on the Visions Victory. So you can follow my Instagram at Dustin BattleAxe Jones, all one word. Same thing on Facebook, Dustin BattleAxe Jones. Easy to find on there. But also for our company, we have S3 Power Sports, and we're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. That's where we post all of our big long Visions of Victory videos. So man, go follow my Facebook and Instagram. Go follow our little business Facebook and Instagram, because that's what helps us to keep doing what we do. But then outside of that, man, the guys that actually help me be able to race, naturally, it's S3 Power Sports, our shop in Louisiana that builds these race cars for me and for these people all over the country. So I'm so proud of these guys and what we're able to do out of Louisiana, keeping these race cars built. And then Can-Am, man, they believed in me early on and put some big faith into us. And we were Can-Am when Can-Am wasn't cool. So I'm so proud to be when they're on top like they are. Monster Energy. That's a brand that everybody's proud to see. That green M, man, it really means something. There's some serious value to that. So I'm super proud and never dreamed in a million years I'd have the opportunity to be a Monster Energy athlete. And I'm so thankful that I am. So besides that, KMC wheels, love them. Maxxis tires, Baja Designs lights, Evolution Power Sports, KWI clutching, Fox shocks. Fox keeps my cars dialed in. I know there's other people that I'm forgetting, but I'm just thankful that I get to do what I love for a living. So all those guys, thank all of you for keeping me going.
That's awesome, dude. And yeah, you have earned what you have.
I appreciate
Don't sell yourself short either.
I appreciate you saying that, man. I feel like it could be taken away at any time. So every day I try to be a good steward of what I'm given.
Yeah, I feel the same way, brother, for sure. So, what do you got? I think we're about wrapped. What do you got for a parting statement?
Oh man, I guess go check it out because this weekend's going to be a wild weekend. We got a big crew going mud riding this weekend, and then I'm jumping on an airplane going to Minnesota to film with Fox. I'm taking my first ice fishing trip. Never done it before. It's another one of those things. I don't know if I'm gonna love it. Don't know if I'm gonna hate it, but I'm gonna go do it. But then big thing that we have coming up is me and Cowboy host the BMF Kids Camp every year. We didn't get to last year because everything we had going on, but the year before we had a huge kids camp where we're taking underprivileged kids. We take 32 kids, get them together out at Cowboy Cerrone's ranch. We teach them life lessons. We teach them how to change their mom's tires, how to jump a car for their mom, how to shoot a bow and arrow, how to shoot a gun, how to protect themselves. We train them to build self-confidence in them, teach them how to defend themselves. And so that's a week-long event coming up in June. And if we got a lot of people got on board for that. If anybody is interested in helping us, because right now me and Cowboy just come out of pocket to do this for these kids, and it's 32 kids, and so it's very, very expensive for me and Cowboy to feed them, to buy them all cots, to buy them sleeping bags, because these kids don't have anything. And so we're bringing in super underprivileged kids. And so it's a week of our time. If anybody wants to help volunteer to help with these kids, if anybody wants to help us find people for tents and sleeping bags and food, please let me know. But it's coming up in June. So that's the next really big, important thing for us coming up, man.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, you talk about being blessed, but you definitely spread good karma and I believe, when you spread goodness, goodness comes back to you.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I really do. So, but that's all the craziness I got coming up in the next few weeks, and it never ends. We got after kids camp, we've got me and Cowboy are taking these crazy trips coming up this year, and some racing and all that. So it's nonstop back to back for me.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to following along with you. Dustin, thank you so much for being on along for the ride, or coming along for the ride, let's say. Um, we are really grateful, and we got to look forward to somewhere down the road getting it'd be rad to do like maybe a Facebook Live or something with you and Dustin, and just let things happen.
Super good for that, man. You know, I always am. If I can find time in my schedule, and if you guys are patient enough, I'm there for it. And I appreciate you asking me to come on there, man. This stuff is a platform to where I can, be a good example for people and be a good ambassador for the sport. And so, thank you for giving me a voice to do that with.
Absolutely, absolutely. Wouldn't have it any other way, man. It's just buddies hanging out.
Always, man. Always. And I always appreciate your pre-race messages, man. Your messages always mean so much to me. So keep those coming every race. I like seeing those.
Oh, thank you. I kind of fell off on it a little bit, and now I'm like, you know what? I feel bad um when I don't do it,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Well, keep sending it because it means something to me.
Oh, I appreciate that, and I'm glad to hear that. And
Yeah.
and it could be I'll look and I'm like, oh damn, it's like 10 o'clock at night, but I'm gonna send it anyways. And who's the first person to answer every time? Because I send a message out to most of the desert racers that I used to sponsor, because y'all are family, above
course.
everything. And Dustin, boom. Thank you, brother.
A lot to me, man. It truly always does. So,
Well, thank you so much for coming along for the ride.
yep.
We are going to call it.
Cool.
Dustin, MAddOG'S Jones, icon, off-road legend, ladies man,
All of it. All of it.
all of it.
You know what? After we're done, just go ahead and call me and just tell me all the good things about me.
You got it, brother.
My man.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
You bet.
Yes, of course. See you.
Man, how cool was that, dude?
I don't get how we're so lucky to just have, well, I know, let me rephrase it. It's amazing how lucky we are to have such good guests that you line up. So thank you. And we just, with the exception of maybe BC, we've just had amazing guests throughout this whole show. I'm kidding, BC. I'm kidding.
Oh, that's a good job because he listens to every single one. So
He's the one guy I can give it because he can take it and dish it back. So
yeah, for sure. Nah, Dustin is he's just such a modest guy, and if he's just a great dude. We hit it off the get go, and he really is family. So
you guys are so similar. I know it's hard to tell probably, and from your perspective, but that was fun watching you two interact. Yeah.
Yeah, that was rad. Cole, thank you so much for everything you do for Along for the Ride. Could not do it without you. Could not do it without our partners.
Kicker Performance Audio.
Kicker.com for all your 12-volt audio needs or personal audio needs. Check them out. Kicker.com. Bomber Eyewear, the Levi's of sunglasses. They're affordable, they're durable. You can get them in OSHA approved safety lenses. They've got so many styles, I can't list them. Man, go check them out. Bomber Eyewear at
bombereyewear.com.
Well done. And of course, our man Cole at the Premix Podcast on Instagram, sharing his passion for all things desert racing through the camera lens. He's got some desert races coming up. Be sure and hit him up. Send him a message on Instagram at the Premix Podcast. That's the at symbol, THEPREMIXPODCAST, all one word. Send a message, get signed up for him to get some shots of you. Tell him you want the MAddOG prize. Of course, Kelsey Morrell Film. Find her on Instagram at Kelsey Morrell Film. So thankful for all her hard video editing work. She does what neither one of us can really do effectively.
Absolutely.
In a quarter of the time that it would take either one of us. So very grateful. Other than that, blessed to have good friends, blessed to have a great producer and co-host. And with that, we got some good stuff coming up. Thank you for coming along for the ride. MAddOG out.